Hey, everybody, and welcome back to 10-Minute Hacks from the Best Marketing Minds. Boy, oh boy, do we have a show for you today. I am going to break my own rule, and we are not going to go for 10 minutes today. We're going to go for a little bit longer because I've got somebody extremely special who's a phenomenal, not only marketer, but a friend and a partner. As you've been listening to this podcast over the past several weeks, I've been talking a lot about SLO funnels. I've been talking a lot about bots. I've been talking a lot about how you create a system on the back end that allows you to build on, build on that break-even point. And I've got the man who taught me this philosophy when I left ThingCharger and made like $8 million in revenue by the hair on my chin and the luck of my ass. I struggled when I started my own company, and this gentleman taught me a lot, and he taught me how to make my clients very, very, very successful. JP.
Hey man, how's it? Yeah, thank you for the lovely introduction. I appreciate it. Yeah, it goes both ways. We've taught each other a lot, and the experience has been mighty grand. So I appreciate what we've been able to accomplish so far, and I'm stoked about the future. So
we've got some big things happening. So JP, I'm going to cut right to the chase. Most entrepreneurs and marketers have a hard luck story. What's yours?
Oh man, where do I start? I think I can relate to 99% of the entrepreneurs out there in the fact that I was not born with a silver spoon. This definitely wasn't handed to me. What I have, I worked for. What you call self-made for sure. Definitely wasn't given anything. So I like everybody else have had struggles. Probably very similar to the ones that you're facing out there right now, and it's just a matter of plugging away and keeping at it until you finally just figure it out until it clicks. And luckily it clicked for me, and now our mission is to kind of eliminate the struggle and eliminate the stress and just have it click for you. So
I read a series of articles that you wrote called Breaking Bad and Breaking Even, and they moved me because you've been to the heights of glory, and you've been to the depths of hell. I mean, really. So tell me quickly, what was the one event that was the biggest turning point for you in your entrepreneur journey?
I guess it was the moment I decided that I wasn't going to quit. I had quit before. The articles that you're referring to, they speak of a journey that I went on, and I built my first website almost 20 years ago. So I can technically say I started this journey then, but in all the time I've, like you said, I've seen the glories. I've had campaigns work out. I've had things that I've learned and I implemented right away and they worked. And then I had many other things that didn't work, and lots of failures, and lots of times where, I would say my life counted on something to work out and it didn't. So
what was the specific failure that you experienced that had that most profound impact on you?
I guess the first one, when I really realized that my ego was leading me in the wrong direction. I guess, when I first started internet marketing, I first got into it. I was running a pretty successful business, and it was a photo agency in LA, and we also had a tour company, and things were going really good. And
this was a paparazzo company, right?
Yeah, I tried to leave that part out.
Why? I need details, my man. You left everything on the table in this story that I read, and now you're trying to leave out details. No.
No, I guess I was just trying to keep it within the 10-minute.
Oh no, I already said we're not doing that.
Excellent. Yes. So I was a scumbag paparazzo, dirty, filthy scumbag paparazzo.
Thank you.
Child actor turned scumbag paparazzo. So that's like the worst. That's like a cop going criminal or something, when you're a child actor and then you turn into a scumbag paparazzo. Yeah. So,
but you were doing very well. I mean, you were you had a company, you were, making a lot of money. What
Yeah,
happened?
it was doing quite well. I guess I would say I had it all, right? I was engaged to be married. We had the nice big house, several cars, extra motor scooters, and all the fancy toys. And like I said, I had two companies going. I had the photo agency and a tour going, and things were going great. And as the industry started change, it's the kind of my love-hate relationship with the internet. As the internet started to come out and people started to go online and checking out the stories on the news sites instead of picking up the magazines. The industry started changing. The risk was not quite worth the reward. We started getting paid less and less, and at the same time cell phones came out and everybody came out with their cell phone, and all of a sudden everybody was in your face and the whole industry changed. And my soul was just reeling, and I just wanted out. And at that time, the business started actually to decline, and I started to look for ways to use the internet to find customers for those particular businesses. And as I did that, I was introduced into this whole world of online marketing. I read the book Magnetic Sponsoring by Mike Dillard. At the time, it was a 7-day video course. It wasn't even a book. And I read, and it just totally blew my mind. I got into this, and I dove right in. And part of me, looks back and kind of regrets it, but the other part of me doesn't. And I started to ignore everything else around me. It wasn't about saving those companies anymore. My relationship really, it took a back seat, and it was all about internet marketing. It was all about going in and launching a business. I see these guys doing all these launches and promoting each other's launch. I'm like, great, I just gotta make something and call these guys and have them promote it, and I'll be a millionaire. Awesome. And I was totally my ego, being in LA, being paid the money I was being paid, and dining at the same restaurants and shopping at the same stores, driving the same cars. Like, I was 100% ego driven, and I started this business very ego driven, and I got smacked in the face really hard. I learned that people can spot bullshit 100 miles away, and that there is no get rich quick. This isn't a magic wand. This isn't a get rich quick scheme. You have to do the work. You have to go out and you actually have to learn it, do it before you can teach it. Nobody's going to listen to you unless you have results, and yada yada yada. So I had spent all my time, maybe a year of my time, completely ignoring my relationship, completely ignoring my businesses, and trying to build out this internet marketing launch. This program called IMAP Academy. And I thought this was going to be the answer. This is going to save us all. And let's just say I completely eliminated the outside world, shut off everybody, and I thought this was it. And I launched, and I believe the launch video received 6 views. And I was crushed. Like, I mean, in a matter, like, we were waiting. I thought I was going to be an overnight millionaire, John Reese style, 24 hours, boom, $1 million in the bank. And I had like 6 people watch it. Nobody bought it. The nobody wanted to promote it. It was awful. And I even had a friend like say one time, like, sorry, your internet marketing launch ruined my life or something. Like, I mean, it was bad. It was bad. It was awful. Let's just say financially, things just took a dive, right? And
Yeah.
because of that, and because of the distance created in the relationship, relationships fail, businesses fail. And I ended up in a motorhome, $1,000 motorhome, with my dog and a buddy of mine who had flown out just at the wrong place at the wrong time. So I would say about a month after just hanging out at the beach and loving life and just enjoying it, we decided to take a road trip across the country in this beat up old motorhome. And we got about 3 hours outside California before a semi truck just came crashing into us. Rolled us. We left a debris field over 2 mile stretch, and although my buddy survived, I survived. My dog didn't, and all of my stuff. The last things I had to my name was just scattered across the entire highway there. But I don't know if that's ever happened to any of you guys, if you ever been in a big accident, but they collect all your stuff and they take it and they dump it in a pile at the dump, and they send you a text and they say, okay, it's ready to come, identify your belongings. So we go, and the smell from being in a motorhome accident with all those fluids, and no hotel would take us. Like, it was awful. But we get to the dump, and I'm standing there picking through what little belongings I have, and I come across a notebook that had some internet marketing notes in it and some funnels and this and that. And I just, like, that moment of like standing there at the dump, pulling my internet marketing launch notes out of the dump, out of the debris, like, that probably was the hardest moment, to answer your question. The moment of like the utmost failure, when I pretty much abandoned internet marketing and abandoned money and boycotted anything and everything that had to do with society and society's rules and expectations and entrepreneurship. And I just, kind of went on this other direction for several years. So
yeah, we have a lot in common. I mean, that was one of the things that, after when I spent 2 years in college, and I was like, I had a couple philosophy classes, a couple philosophy teachers that kind of like changed the way I thought. And I was like, this whole materialistic world is just, and so I quit school. I started hiking the Appalachian Trail. Like, I gave up material possessions, everything. And it's funny because you and I now, we've kind of renounced money in the material world, and now here we are back, launching, co-creating an entire, empire, ultimately together, while at the same time having very successful businesses and doing what we love to do, and making money. And I'm just curious from your end, what changed in your mind that you said, you know what, it is okay to make money again? Like, how did that happen?
So after a couple years of doing work exchange on organic farms in Hawaii, and traveling here and there and just completely living for free, I met a girl, and started a relationship. And just, even though I didn't have anything, and even though I was literally living on a farm with a backpack, like, this relationship happened naturally and organically. And she happened to live in a different country. So it became where I actually had to start doing some work again, little like farming jobs here and there for cash, and get back into the matrix, if you will, just to be able to afford to go visit her. So I would work literally just for a plane ticket, and I would go there, and I'd visit with her for 3 months. She would come, and we'd back and forth. So I would literally just make enough to do that. But as we're the first few months were us camping and exploring the beach and doing like, straight bachelor style, like paradise, right? But then the real world hits, and a year goes on to 2, and now it's like, okay, are we going to do something real? Are we going to actually, like, if you want to move here, you have to have money. If are you going to take me out? Or, granted, you come, whatever. It got to a point where like money became a necessity again, because I wanted to like live. I didn't want to hide out in the woods for the rest of my life. I wanted to start living.
Take your lady out for a nice dinner occasionally.
Absolutely. So I guess, that was the beginning of the rebuilding of my relationship with money, and saying, okay, it wasn't, it's not, money's not evil. It was my mishandling of money over my lifetime that has, formed this relationship that I have. So that would be the starting of wanting to kind of get back into that.
Yeah, and it's interesting learning a little bit about that, your process for that. Mine was very similar. It was about, having a family and having to provide, and not, having a tent in the woods, which my wife would not go for, and then, just kind of thinking about those processes, and then when you and I started talking, and how we immediately bonded and really balanced each other, because I'm the kind of guy who just like goes out, does things, and I see what sticks, and I go, okay, now I can do that, and like all these doors open, which is amazing. And you've certainly have a lot of that in your past, like you've done a lot of that, but over time you've matured and you've kind of stepped back and said, okay, when it's important to build the back end. It's important to really understand your funnel from a front end and back end perspective. And then just listening to you talk about like the reboot and things like that, the process that you and I are creating together, the 7-figure jumpstart, to help people get to 7 figures while starting from literally nothing. JP, before we even started this, he went out to entrepreneurs and a lot of different people in a lot of different industries and said, hey, what is it that you want to know? Like, what is it what is the thing that you want to know from an entrepreneur who's been successful and who's made 7 figures? And they go, well, it's if you had nothing and you had to start over, what would you do? And so, even in the process that we're building together, it's that reboot phase, right? That time to step back and take a deep breath and like stop trying to hustle so much. Is that kind of where that came from for you, or were there other things that kind of played into that?
Absolutely. I guess, it's a couple of those things. If you love it, let it go. If it comes back, it's meant to be.
Which is what happened to you in the junkyard, right?
Exactly. Whatever was meant to be came back to me, found its way. I do have a couple of things like a great skateboard that means a lot to me that managed to, but all my expensive photo equipment just mysteriously disappeared, but we won't get into that. But yeah, it was definitely like, that, and it was also that like sometimes you just got to step away. And although at the time I had quit, it was really just like a reboot, a rest and recovery and reorganizing and regrouping, that time to step away that gave me the clarity, because I had nothing invested, right? Like I wasn't doing anything. I had officially boycotted everything. So if a thought came in my mind, it was just for that very sole reason. A thought, it wasn't to solve all my problems or to save my relationship or to do this or that. It was just a thought. And as I had time to reorganize my thoughts, I still had this passion for the business. I still had a lot of entrepreneur friends that would come to me for advice. And I always found myself walking them through the same advice, the same system, because they had to be there first. And once they were there, then we can move on. And right. And that kind of sparked a whole, like, okay, I want to get back into this. And I said, I'm not gonna run in circles. I'm not gonna repeat the same mistakes over and over and over. That's the definition of insanity, right? So if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do it right. As my grandfather speaking, he always said that if you're gonna do something, do it from the very beginning. And I said, okay, let's do this right. So I really want to do something big. I really want to make sure that all of my experiences and my education and everything is well packaged and filtered and presented in the most, not only the most profitable, but the most productive manner. And I want to give it my all, and I want to do something that means something. So, I went out to the 5 or 6 market segments that, we have within our market segments there. Went out, did an ask campaign and asked the question, what's your number one question? What's your number one struggle? And over and over and over, it was the same thing. Like, if you had to start over from scratch with nothing, with no leads, with no big list, with no big advertising budget or investors or capital investment, if you had to start from scratch, or if I had to save what I had going on, like, what would you do? So I meditated, I focused, and I really made sure that the answer to that question was the right answer for all of our market segments. And it was, it was the point, the point, the breaking point, and the front end and the back end. So I'm a back end guy. I've spent my life behind the scenes helping people build their back ends. I don't have much of a front end because it hasn't, I have just enough to keep me going, right? So I'm a back end guy, and I'm thinking, okay, so to make this like the perfect balance, I need to bring on my equivalent on the front end, like the front end version of me. And I went out, and just so happened that a couple weeks earlier, I had been working on a project with Michael, and he, like, not only did he fit the bill, he was just, I got goosebumps. Like, this is the guy to build this empire with. So I approached him. I said, like, dude, I think all I said was, hey man, you want to make $1 million? He's like, yeah. Awesome. So
I think there also might have been some passionate frustration with a mutual client. No?
Yeah, absolutely. We had reached a threshold. Enough was enough. Yeah, we were gonna do something big. So.
I was like, dude, I loved working with you, and I'm like, okay, we kept working with each other. We're like, okay, this is really great. And then we would go to our client. Our client was just like, yeah. The kind of like where you were, when you were in a younger state, kind of ego driven and just wouldn't 100%. Listen to anybody. Yeah. And then we're like, that all kind of fell apart. We're like, man, like, why would we not continue working together? Like, what?
Absolutely. Yeah. And so, I mean, and that's kind of the birth of our empire, is like the magnetic pull that we had between the front end and the back end, the two powers coming together. And we spent the last 6 months, 7 months really taking all of our life's experiences, all of our notes, all of our education and everything, and filtering it in the perfect formula, the perfect journey for our client to go on that will get them from 0 to 6 to 7 figures with the least amount of time, the least struggles, starting from scratch. And I'm very proud of what you and I and our team have been able to create and been able to build, and we're just now getting into the point where we're willing to start sharing some of this information with others. And I'm so happy that you had me on here today. I'm so excited. But yeah, I mean, that's the birth of the breaking point, the epiphany, if you will, would be, once I realized that I was just teaching everybody I knew, all my friends, that they got to get to the break-even point first. And once they had that, then they can build upon that. And once I realized like that was the answer to all of my customers and clients' questions, the problems that they face, like
I'm so sorry. I am not cutting you off, but I am, but I'm not. And absolutely. So I get to be the host of the show, and I get to cut you off if I want, but I'm not.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So, and the reason I did that was because, when you break it down, all of your experience, and you were getting into this, but I really want to.
I rambled.
No. You weren't rambling. You were just getting to it, but I wanted to ask you the question so you could clearly articulate it for people. And here's the question, and this is what the show is all about. What is the number one marketing hack that you use to defeat all others?
It is a single point. It is a single point, and it's called The Breaking Point. Like one of my favorite movies.
It's called the what?
The Breaking Point. The break-even point. I'm sorry. I was referring to Point Break, the movie, when they talk about.
I love that movie.
So good. So if you talk about the same concept with like the break-even point, it's that one point where you finally break even. And on the one side of it, on the front end of it, you have the spend, the ad spend, what we call the acquisition cost, right? That's the front end. And on the other side of the breaking point, you have the back end, right? It's pure profit. It's the ascension. So in theory, all right, if you have a front end that is built and its sole purpose is to become a self-liquidated funded proposal, self-liquidated offer, its sole purpose is to fund itself just to break even. So if you put $1,000 in to the advertising, all you need to do is make $1,000 back, break even, so that you can pump that right back into your advertising. And as long as you can do that continuously, your list, your lead generation, your list of leads or your list of customers is just going to go. So if you can learn to break even on the front end, everything else you do after that, everything else is pure profit. So if you can learn to create a journey that ascends them through multiple levels, multiple stages, or all the stages, if you address each and every single stage of their journey through your back end, right, then you're just pure profit. You're ascending them, and you're making more and more and more money off of that customer that you're already acquired. So if you can get on the front end your customer acquisition cost to zero, and then on the back end you can take those customers and you can start selling them stuff for the rest of time, for the rest of your life's relationship with them. That's the name. So the break even point, like that, once I got that, it's kind of like being at a casino, right? If you take $200 into the casino and you're spending it, and like, let's say you're down to $20, and then all of a sudden you hit a big hit and it gets you back to 200, and you're back to break even. You get to like start over. Or if anything else you make after that, if you're still in the bonus and still spinning, you're going to make a couple more dollars. That's profit. Right? That's after the break-even point. That's the theory. So that single point of breaking even is like the first point I get across to any of my clients, to any of my meetings. Like, you got to break even. And once we break even, we celebrate and we profit.
Beautiful. A lot of the folks who are interested in becoming entrepreneurs, who are still in a corporate day job, they are people who have expertise in a particular field, and they're thinking about, how do I leverage this expertise into an online business with either a service model or a product model or something like that? What would you say to that person? How do they get started?
Well, I would first and foremost form your relationship with yourself. Know yourself. Know who you are, and from that, you'll know your purpose and the reason that you were placed here on earth. And then from that, you'll start to develop, like, who is it that I want to serve? Who is I here to serve? And from that, you'll develop your perfect client. And from your perfect client, you start to develop their journey. And from their journey, you start to break it into stages. And each of those stages becomes something that you need to address with either a training product or a service. Right? And as you address these stages, you take them from zero to, or A to Z, you have an entire journey with multiple products and services. And you start from the low end and you work your way up to high end tickets. So you can address people who want to spend either this or they want to spend that, but you take them on the whole journey. Now that is your back end. Once you have your back end in place, a way to make some money, then you go out and you build your front end, and you test it. Whatever front end funnel works for you, whether it be a self-liquidating book funnel or a webinar funnel or an e-com funnel or just a simple lead generation funnel, do whatever works to break even. And as long as you can break even and send them into your back end ascension process of all those products and services you just created, game over, 7 figures.
You make it sound so easy. And it is. I mean, and here's the beautiful thing, guys. If you're listening, this is not a get rich quick. This is not anything like that. JP and I have done that and it don't work, right? This is the real deal. This is how you create something that is useful. It's going to provide value. And I love how you broke it down into figuring out who you are. That's like that reboot process, right? It's like step back, take a deep breath. Who am I? Who do I want to serve? What am I passionate about? What matters to me? What am I good at? Who do I want to serve? Now you figure that out, and then you talk about that journey, right? So you say, okay, this is the person I want to serve. They're here. They want to go here. I'm building the process for them to get there. And I'm creating multiple levels of opportunities for them to do that, whether they can afford to, just consume my free content, or they can afford to, pay me $25,000 for 6 months. You create that multiple stages of trainings or products or opportunities, services. And then, this is where you are just so special. This is what you've taught me so powerfully and profoundly. And, it's changed my business, bro. Like, it's changed my life. And so this ability to generate traffic, because I'm a front end guy, right? I generate traffic. I bring you traffic. And if that traffic is not, if that traffic is losing money, if I'm spending $1 and bringing in 75 cents, that is not sustainable. If I'm spending $1, bringing in $1 and bringing in a lead, bingo, game changer.
Exactly. Game changer. Game over. Life changed. I mean, yeah, that's it. That's the name of the game.
JP, obviously we're putting something together very special that we're going to be, revealing a little slowly-ish over time, but it's going to be coming pretty quickly in the grand scheme of things. for now, until they can, I don't even say that. For now, how do people find you?
The best thing to do so that you are, in the loop, if you will, is to follow us. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We got our new Facebook and Instagram. That's at 7 Figure Launch Co. That's the number 7 Figure Launch Co. Follow us there. That's the call to action for now, because like Michael said, we have some awesome things coming. We're going to address both sides of this coin, right? With the training that we have coming out over the next couple months, with the inner circle that we actually have in place right now, with all of the back-end products that we're building, we're going to address both sides of this coin so that you can basically a one-stop shop. You come to us, we're going to show you how to build the perfect front end in multiple different ways to choose from. We're going to get you a self-liquidating offer in place that is completely self-liquidating, funds itself. Boom, 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 builds up your leads. We're going to show you how to do that with our Jumpstart training. And then our inner circle and everything we build in the inner circle is going to be geared towards the back end and showing you how to create that value ladder, that marketing funnel, and everything in place there. So we're going to be addressing both sides of this coin starting now with the inner circle, but starting over the next couple months as we launch the Jumpstart training. So the best thing to do would be to follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube channel, 7 Figure Launch Co., and just stay in the loop. Stay tuned, keep an eye out, watch us, because we are about to do some big things.
That's awesome. I'm glad you said it. That was what I said I wasn't going to say, but I'm glad you said it anyway. I love it, brother. You are the man, JP. I really appreciate you taking the time to share your wisdom with our audience today, and I'm really looking forward to helping to change some lives.
Yeah, me too. Let's build some empires.
That's good. Thank you, brother.
All right, man. Peace.